What is up, Jada Gang? It's your girl Jadeddiamonds here, back with another video. And today we're going to be doing our February reading wrap up, and I'm really excited. Alright, so before we begin, if this is your first time seeing any of my videos, knowing of my existence, my name is Diamond. I go by Jadeddiamonds on the internet, and we like to have fun over here, okay? As you can tell, I do book hauls. Not book hauls, I do reading wrap ups, maybe video essays, unpopular opinions, vlogs, skincare reviews. I do everything, okay, until I figure out, okay? But really, I'm just sharing everything that I love to do with you, okay? So we're just gonna get straight on into it. Okay, so February was a good reading month for me. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the reading that I did. I definitely started off with Black authors, but I didn't do a ton of Black reading. I didn't do a Blackathon. Well, we can get into that another time. I'm not really ready to be political right now, but I did do some reading, and I wanted to first start off with The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. I read The Fire Next Time. I started reading The Fire Next Time on February 1st because I heard so many things about it, and I just felt like it was a good read, a very short read, and also I actually read it on audio, so I took a lot from it. And so I have a few notes here just to give you a brief synopsis of what it is. It is a book. It is nonfiction. It is an essay. It's written in essay form, essay style, and there are 2 essays there. The first essay is called The Dungeon. What is it? Yeah, My Dungeon Shook, and that is a letter that James Baldwin wrote to his nephew, and it says it's a letter on the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. And then you have the second essay, which is my personal favorite, which was titled Down at the Cross. This one was a letter from a region of my mind, and what he meant by that was it was basically based on his experiences with religion and the church and Islam in Harlem. And the title, The Fire Next Time, comes from a couplet. A couplet is 2 lines of verse, usually in the same meter, and joined by rhyme that form a unit. And the rhymes came from a poem called Mary Don't You Weep, or it wasn't a poem, it was an African, I don't even have what it is. It wasn't a poem. It was a spiritual, like a Negro spiritual. Mary, Don't You Weep, and it was a Negro spiritual. And so he got the lines from it, and it was God gave Noah the rainbow sign, no more water, the fire next time. And so that's where the fire next time came from. And I wanted to just talk about briefly the second essay, which, like I said, was titled Down at the Cross, letter from a region in my mind. And so I wrote briefly just how I felt a little bit, and deals with the relations between race and religion, and focuses in particular on Baldwin's experience with the Christian church as a youth, as well as Islamic ideas and others in Harlem. Either way, The Fire Next Time was very much a good read. It deals primarily with, like I said, race relations, the way that we are treated in America today. More than anything, when he's writing to his nephew about the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation, it's written in a way to make you feel like you basically should, I would say, feel sorry for the white people, because they know not what they really do, and they're more messed up than we are, because in a sense, not even in a sense, in all actuality, Black people cannot be racist. We can be a lot of things, but we cannot be racist. That is put on us because we were stolen from our homeland and brought here. Loosely, I'll say stolen loosely, okay? And I'm not a historian, okay? But yeah, it's just a very good read, just to familiarize yourself with the ways in which great minds like James Baldwin thought back in the 60s. This book was published in 1963. And yeah, it's just a good one. I don't have much to say. It's just a good read, and it's one that you need to go back to. So I did order the physical copy so that I can annotate the physical copy. So I probably will do a reread, and I'll have more to say next time. But for the most part, I really enjoyed it, and I love James Baldwin. So I do plan on reading Giovanni's Room, and then bringing forth my opinions about that in the near future. So the next book that I want to read, I have a physical copy, and it is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. So with The Bluest Eye, The Bluest Eye. So, The Bluest Eye was Toni Morrison's first novel, published in 1970 while she was a professor at, she wasn't a professor. She wrote it while she was a professor at Howard, but she got it published when she was working for Random House. And this book is really amazing. It's a very, very short book. Just about 160 pages in small form. So if it was bigger, it'd probably be like less than 100 pages, bigger print. And yeah, so The Bluest Eye. The Bluest Eye follows the story of this girl. Her name is Piccola. And, it follows Piccola, but it's definitely told in second and third person point of view, if I'm not mistaken. Piccola never really speaks. Okay, someone else is speaking for her. And so with this story, all right, so The Bluest Eye. I'm trying to get my thoughts together on what I want to say because I have a lot to say about this book. For starters, it begins. Let's talk about where it begins. This is amazing. So she thought that it was prevalent to write at the beginning of the story a very, very important piece of information that will like grip you and pull you in. So, all right, here we go. Quiet as it's kept, there were no marigolds in the fall of 1941. We thought at the time that it was because Piccola was having her father's baby, that the marigolds did not grow. A little examination and much less melancholy would have proved to us that our seeds were not the only ones that did not sprout. Nobody's did. Not even the gardens fronting the lake showed marigolds that year. But so deeply concerned we were with the health and safe delivery of Piccola's baby, we could think of nothing but our own magic. If we planted the seeds and said the right words over them, they would blossom and everything would be all right. So it begins with this and it ends with that. And so you take with that what you will, okay? So basically this trigger warning. This book deals with rape, incest, self-harm, child neglect, inferiority complexes as it relates to the color of your skin, and a host of other things. So I wanted to, and I didn't write any notes for this, but I got so stuck in different people's varying opinions about the book on Goodreads that I just felt like it's wild to me. So the book basically tells Piccola, right? Piccola is she hates herself. She hates how she looks, and it's not her fault, okay? Everyone around her has basically told her or made her feel like she was the ugliest girl. She was very, very, very dark skinned, and she was taught to hate her dark skin. And it's sad, but it's true and prevalent to this day, to the point where, you know, people these days have what we call it body dysmorphia disorder. So it tells the story of what she would do to like get these blue eyes, because blue eyes was such a symbol of beauty back in those days. First of all, blue eyes and fair skin, white people were just a statement of beauty back in those days. And so it just goes through, or Toni tells the story through her beautifully written imagery and her beautiful words. And it's more like it's like reading poetry, how Miss Morrison how she writes. Like I said, due to Piccola's harsh characteristics and dark skin, she is consistently regarded as ugly. As a result, she develops an inferiority complex, which fuels her desire for the blue eyes she equates with whiteness. The point of view of the novel switches between the perspective of, there it goes, Claudia McTeer, the daughter of Piccola's foster parents, and a third-person narrator with inset narratives in the first person. Due to controversial topics, the book included racism, incest, child molestation, and a host of other things. At one point in history, they actually wanted to ban this book from schools and take it out of libraries. And, you know, it's understandable. But once again, without giving too much away, this is an amazing book to read, to ponder on, to think about, and to read again, to get further understanding, because it is a lot to take in, and she writes in such a rhythmic way. Toni Morrison writes with such passion, with such conviction, that it's just, I don't know. It's a very abstract book also, so you really, really have to delve into it. That's why they teach her so much in university, because it's like she's not going to just outright give it to you blatantly. You have to like search within the lines for meaning and gain understanding based off of your own feelings and off of history, and doing a little research to really figure out what Toni's trying to tell you. It is very deep, this book. You can't just go into it and just like read, which I could, because I could, because I'm an English major, but you couldn't. All right, and I also did the audiobook for it, which was also read by Toni Morrison. I highly recommend. All right, next book, let's move on. We're moving on to Sleepwalking by Meg Wolitzer. And I was intrigued by this book for a number of reasons. I'm not even gonna lie. I took this recommendation from the Queen Cat over at Paperback Dreams. So for one, she hyped the book up to me. For two, it slightly did not disappoint. As you can see, I do have tabs, because at the beginning, your girl, she was on it. I would say she had me up until the 107th page, and then I just started to get very, very, very bored. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I recommend you read Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, and I also recommend that you read The Fire Next Time. Now, I'm not giving enough of what I feel about those two books, because it's just, those are not the kind of books that you want to just outright tell. I don't know. I'm moving on, but yeah, I rate both of those a 5-star also. So back to Meg Wolitzer, with Meg and Sleepwalking. So this book follows us 3 girls. I'm trying to get the girl's name. I don't know. Claire. Okay. So this book follows Claire. She is one of 3 girls whom they call themselves the Death Girls, and with that name, they've been given that name because they are all obsessed with these poets, these women poets, female poets who actually committed suicide. 2 poets are actually real, Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton. Both are real, and the 2 other friends are obsessed with those 2. And then we have a fictional character, a fictional poet named Lucy Asher. That is who Claire is obsessed with. And so they meet with each other, and they light candles, and they discuss the women's poetry because they're so obsessed with the poetry. And so I was intrigued by that, and it was giving more of a dark academia feel, which I'm not really a fan of dark academia for a host of reasons. For one, I'm Black in America, and I'm not rich, so dark academia doesn't really work for me. But once again, with a lot of other people that look like me and that are into fashion, I'm just really into what dark academia aesthetics look like. But all of the themes of dark academia and the features of it, the characteristics of it, they don't apply to me in any way, form, or fashion. But I did like this book for the most part. Okay, so it follows Claire. Like I said, she's obsessed with Lucy Asher, which is a poet who committed suicide. Now, once you get into this book and you start to read it, let me tell you something. Meg Wolitzer was very, very young when she wrote this. I forgot. She was still in college when she wrote this book, and you can tell. But it was a lot of imagery painted regarding the relationship that Claire had with this boy named Julian that resonated with me so much. And also Claire's feelings on being in a relationship and being touched, and how it was just she was very misunderstood, or she felt very misunderstood by this guy that she actually really liked. Those lines and those scenes really stuck with me, and that's where these tabs really come from. I wanted to go maybe to a couple of tabs, but before I do that, I will say this book completely switches up in the middle, which is also pretty short. It's just about 250 pages. It switches up, and so Claire Claire decides to leave school, and like she's just like going through some shit, and she's like wanting to leave school, and she tries to go, and she goes and finds Lucy Asher's home where her parents reside. And so the story takes a different turn where it's no longer really focusing in on Claire and her feelings, and it's now going into Lucy Asher's parents. And so we also get a little bit of Claire's parents as well, because one thing about Claire, she is grieving the loss of her favorite poet whom she never met in her life, but feels a serious connection with her based on her work, which I really understand that. But also there's another thing going on here that is causing Claire to actually grieve along with her parents that I don't want to give away just in case you guys want to read it. So it just centers around grief and how you deal with grief and the different ways that everyone has an outlet, and like how just nobody's grieving process looks the same. And I really, really like that. Even to like when we get to where when Claire meets Lucy's parents, and like how they're dealing with things, and how they couldn't help their own daughter who just couldn't get life together, I call it who can't get right. She couldn't get right to the point where she just took her own life. And so that's not a secret because it's on the back of the book that Lucy Asher committed suicide. So I'm not really giving anything away about that, but I really like this book for the most part. It is not a 5-star read. I would not recommend this book because this book is not for everyone, but I'm grateful that I read it. I feel smarter after reading it because there's a lot of I learned a lot just by reading this book that is completely it's completely fiction. But yeah, I really liked it. I'm trying to get to some of the parts that really resonated with me. Trying to see, I don't know, some of my little notes. Yeah, I have notes like all over this book that I really liked it. So like I said, I didn't say, so I rate this book a 3 out of 5 star. 3 out of 5 star. And yeah, it's all in all a good book, but it isn't the most amazing, okay? And I read Beach Read by Emily Henry. Okay, so this book is extremely interesting. So this book follows Augustus Everett in January, if I'm not mistaken. Is it January? It's been a while, y'all, since I read any. I didn't write any notes on this one either. January. This book got me on the first page. I will be honest. Alright, so I'm going to read the first page to you guys really quickly. So, I have a fatal flaw. I like to think we all do. Or at least that makes it easier for me when I'm writing. Building my heroines and heroes up around this one self-sabotaging trait, hinging everything that happens to them on a specific characteristic. The thing they learn to do to protect themselves and can't let go of, even when it stops serving them. And I wrote in quotations, "Bitch, this is me. What the fuck?" And so yeah, I was really hooked after that. So this is not quite an enemies to lovers, because on the one hand, January feels as though I really hope I'm saying her name. Is it January? Y'all, if her name is not January, I'm so sorry, but I do know that it is Augustus. So Augustus, yes, it's January Andrews. So Augustus and January, we can call this a friends, enemies to lovers, but they're not quite enemies in Augustus's eyes. They're enemies in January's eyes, more or less like rivals. And so basically, it is a story about those two, and they're both writers. They went to the same college, and right now January's kind of going through something. She has writer's block. And so her dad also leaves her this home in a beachfront town. And so she goes there to try to clear her mind and get this story written. And she finds that Augustus Everett lives next door. And so that's just the premise of the story. I'm not really giving too much away because it's right here on the back. And so they do a kind of trade-off swap. Because she has writer's block, she writes romance. And so Augustus is more of a fiction writer. And so they swap and they see who can do the best with the different genre, and the story goes from there. And so this story it starts off extremely lighthearted, and it's very, very funny. That's one thing with Emily Henry. I really love people we meet on vacation. It's very funny, it's very smart, sophisticated book, and this one's absolutely the same, but there are deeper parts in it. There are parts where you have to check in with yourself, and you have to be like, oh my gosh, like this woman, Emily, like I said before, she really, really gets it. She really, really understands. And I'm like so grateful for her as an author. And so it just has highs and lows to it. And you have little moments of anxiety driven outbursts or just angsty romance and love. And she doesn't take too long for the buildup of them because, as we know, this is a romance. But it is, to me, romance fiction. Well, it's called contemporary romance, and I agree. So just not to give it all away, a lot of people say that they did not like this book, especially because they read People We Meet on Vacation First. I read People We Meet on Vacation First, and I like the fact that these are two totally different books, and I like this one also, but I'm not going to give it a 5-star. I'm going to give it a 3.5 star just because a lot of the parts towards the end, I want to say at about chapter 19 towards the end, I just really wasn't feeling some of the things. Like, I don't know, some of the things could have been arranged in a different way that would have driven the point home a little bit better. But there is a part in the book where she finally gets the keys to the safe, goes in the safe and opens up the safe and starts, and you'll understand if you read this book. But it is a good book. It is a page turner. It's awesome. I like it. I like books like this where I don't have to think too hard. I did have to think a lot with The Bluest Eye. I did have to think a lot with The Fire Next Time. And even with Sleepwalking, I like her writing. She has beautiful, like, she writes beautifully, but it wasn't just easy breezy, you know? But Beach Read was easy breezy, and I really liked it. All right, I'm definitely saving the best for last, but I'm going to go ahead and share my Vogue January magazine with Olivia Wilde on the cover. Please look past the fact that Vogue almost never has a black woman on the cover. I'm very much aware of that, and I really just don't care because I'm not pushing myself into these places. You know, I like to say I'm a lady with style and grace and all of the things, and I'm really, really interested in fashion, and I really like to hear other people's points of views that you don't necessarily get on videos and you don't get on Instagram, or you don't get, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to kind of take it back. So at the top of the year, last year I did my first Vogue subscription. I used to be obsessed with magazines when I was younger. My dad used to get me I used to get the 17 magazine subscription every year, and I actually had a magazine wall in my room. And so yeah, I like to express myself, and like people forget people fail to realize that like the paper quality for magazines is so amazing. You just don't know what you might need it for. But for me, I bought them, or I did the subscription for aesthetic purposes for sure. And I actually love, if you know me, you know that The Girls on HBO is one of my most favorite shows. I freaking love that show. It's created by Lena Dunham. Some people say it's problematic, but I don't know. But here's Lena Dunham right here. And I love her. I love her writing. The Girls was so good. Oh my gosh. So if you've never seen The Girls, like when you get some time, just binge watch The Girls. The Girls is amazing. It's like a lighter-hearted, younger Sex and the City with a totally different vibe. It's not about fashion, and it's not about big, but it's real, real good. And, you know, a lot of us don't realize that we're completely connected with one another outside of race. You know, we're all human. And I just learned that we have 50% of the same DNA that trees have. So we're obviously plants as well. But yeah, I read this article. It's called Warm Feet, and it was so amazing. And it was How Finally Feeling Safe Made Me Want a Wedding by Lena Dunham. And she did a really, really good job on this article. And so yeah, I just slowly read the magazine throughout the month. But luckily for me, January, February, March came at the same time because they messed up my order. So I do have 3 magazines that I can read right now, and which will probably take the whole month because I'm also reading novels. So yeah, I also read this. And so we talked about The Fire Next Time, The Bluest Eye, Sleepwalking, and Beach Read. In Vogue. Let's discuss the final book for the month. And it's my favorite book of the month. I just finished reading it 3 days ago, and I can't stop thinking about this book. I can't stop thinking about the book. I can't stop thinking about the characters. So it is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I think it was published in 1993 originally, and oh my God. I freaking loved The Secret History. I loved it. Okay, so let's just get straight on into it. All right, so The Secret History. The Secret History follows 5 friends. You have Richard, who's the narrator, Henry, and you have 2 twins, Charles and Camilla. You have Bunny, and you have Francis or Francois, and then kind of sort of we could just talk about their professor Julian. So that's what the book those are the characters of the book, okay? And let's see, where do I want to go? Okay, so this book is about, like I said, five, we're going to call them 5 new adults because they're in college. They're college-aged kids, and I'm not giving it away because it's on the first page of the book. It follows them reeling off of the consequences of a murder that they all commit together as friends. And so the book basically is 2 parts, told in 2 parts. So the first part is the events leading up to the murder, and the second part are the consequences and the repercussions after the murder. And so you'll also find out that they murder one of their friends. His name is Bunny, and with all due respect, Bunny had to go, but at the same time, we are not the maker, so we're not supposed to, commit thou shalt not kill. So basically, they didn't have the right to do that, but they did it anyway. And so it just follows that, and it just, I don't know, y'all. I don't know, but I definitely want to talk about the characters. Okay, so first things first. The first character that I want to discuss is Henry. Henry's dark. He's sophisticated. He's a leader of the group. He's upper class. He's wealthy. He has taste. He doesn't really care about the rules. He's very impractical, very detached from reality, and he just I can't relate to the mundane worries of the world, and doesn't really care about the real world, life, whatever. Anyway, he even says that he wants to live somewhere far off where nobody can reach him, and I quote that from the book. Keep that in mind. He even says, I just want to live somewhere far off where nobody can reach me. We'll hold that thought. Then we have Robert, who is the narrator of the entire story. The story begins with Robert maybe a year after everything, and he's telling us about what happened. And so I put that Robert, in my personal opinion, is an unreliable narrator. He's poor amongst all of his friends, but he tries very hard to keep that a secret, and he wants to fit in, not realizing that he is being used as a pawn in this game. I don't feel like they cared about him at all. And then you have Camilla, who is completely withdrawn from everyone. She's very smart, very quiet, and she's the twin sister of Charles, who is an alcoholic. He's very jealous, and he's weak-minded. Lastly, we have Julian, and I think Julian is oblivious to the aspects of the real world, and I think that Henry is his favorite. I forgot to talk about Francis. Francis is cool. Francis has the house in the country where a lot of things happen, and he's also wealthy. Francis is gay, but it's never really said, but it is said at the same time. But he doesn't really pull me in as much as all the other characters, so I don't really have much to say about Francis. And so for me, I had a very much cathartic feeling when I finished the book, because it was just like when I went into reading this book, I felt so many different things, and I felt so many different ways, and when I finished, I felt like I laid my burden down. You know what I mean? I just didn't think that this book would hit me how it would. Now, I'm currently reading A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, and I'm honestly going to start it over. But I want to say that it really, really reads just like that book. I think she took a lot of inspiration from this book. For it being written in 1993, I'm pretty sure all of the popular and non-popular writers have read Donna Tartt, and specifically have read The Secret History, because she does have other books. My Little Friend, and she has The Golden Finch, which is a movie, which I feel like this should have been a movie. But anyways, so it reads like that. And so it's a very long book, and it doesn't really have to be, but in my personal opinion, it needed to be, because it paints the picture of all of the characters, and it weaves in and out how they're intertwined with one another. And then it's just like the language of it all. Me being an English major, and I also write a little bit, and when I'm really feeling some things, I kind of sound a bit poetic, and so I like to explain myself, and I like to explain things, and I like to give the build up of things before I like boom throw the story down at you. And so that's exactly what Donna Tartt did with this book, and you just could tell, because it was just very literal, like not literal, but it was very I don't know what word I'm looking for. But all right, so let's go. Let me give you a little bit of a rundown. Okay, so basically this book is like ancient Greek. So what happens is they perform an ancient Greek religious ceremony, which is kind of like an orgy basically, and without giving us so much of what happened during that time period, it goes completely wrong. And so there's actually a murder committed amongst the group of friends, excluding Richard and Bunny. They were not there, and so they actually killed someone during that time. But mind you, they were completely jacked up on drugs. Henry was out of his wits, and so it just happens, you know. And it did, and they basically cover it up or whatever. And then Bunny finds out, and so you'll find out if you read The Secret History that Bunny's just an awful, terrible person, and he starts to use the fact that they killed this guy against them, and he starts to basically blackmail Richard, because Richard's the one who did it. And in blackmailing Richard's already rich, so he just starts doing all these elaborate things, taking Bunny on elaborate trips, buying Bunny all types of fancy clothes and things of that nature. And Bunny's just a super leech person who just is not gonna let it go. But you could tell that it's like burning Bunny up on the inside, that he knows that his friend did this at the end of the day, and he doesn't know how long he can hold it in. And that's when they realize that Bunny has to go. And so like I said, the story is two parts. One part building up, the other part the after ripple effects. And so it's written beautifully, it's told very, very beautifully. But there are a lot of trigger warnings. There is incest, there is talks about rape, there's a lot of bigotry from Bunny's behalf, a lot of homophobia, there's suicide, a host of other things. But she wrote this so well. Her prose is amazing, and if I ever were to write a book, it would be so long, just because I am a very descriptive person also. And yeah, I enjoyed The Secret History. 5 out of 5. I'll read it again and again. I really like this book, and it's honestly not a book for everyone, but I still would recommend it if you have the time and the patience. I think it's really, really worth it, and you'll love it. So yeah, aside from the start of my review, which was kind of rocky because I really don't remember a lot from The Fire Next Time, this is all the books that I read in February, and I'm looking forward to sharing all of the books that I read to you or with you guys. I'm really tired, oh my god. But I'm looking forward to sharing all the books that I read with y'all at the end of March. So yeah, which I already have them. I'm not going to talk about them. I'm just going to come to you. Maybe I'll come with a reading vlog. That'll be fun. I think I'm going to do a reading vlog. I'm going to do my first reading vlog for March. And yeah, that'll be fun. Maybe 2 books at a time or something like that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you like me. Hope you comment on my video and subscribe to my channel for more videos. It's your girl once again, Jadeddiamonds, and I'll see you in my next upload. Bye.